talking today. And we have Stephanie Ellison until you get to the real important stuff. Stacey Raikes, Lisa Migliori Black, okay, I was going to say the great no-knowing. She wants me to tell you she's a know-it-all. Mary Pierce in the back, and we have Sue Terry, the legend. Thank you. I will turn the time over to Sue and her team to get you all educated. And again, we are so grateful that you are here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to move through the slides quickly. We admit that Debbie is right. We tend to always go right to the very end. We want to have a lot of time for questions because I think you'll have some. And so we're going to move right through the slides pretty quickly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Stacey. In the legal arena, one unclarified inaudible word during key testimony could make or break a case. When digital audiographers, transcriptionists, and ASR can't adequately hear, inaudible is their standard go-to parenthetical. When court reporters can't hear, they seek clarification. We make a difference. We are the gold standard. Sue Terry formed the Strong Committee back in March of 2019 as a task force. We're a committee. If you don't know who we are, please visit the NCRA.org website. Go to the Strong Resource Library. We've got tons of information. Can everybody see me? Can you hear me? Okay, we've got tons of information for you to print off, disseminate to your clients, to your courts. We've also got the Strong Resource Library, and we have our own NCRA Strong YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, we upload all types of videos, research we found. There's stuff like the Murdoch mishap. Everything is there. So we've all collated the information in one place for you, and we just want to remind you to use the resource. It's there for you to use. It's free. Remember to log in. That's the only way you can access the information.
Can I just say real fast while somebody's breathing up here? They're going to talk fast. They're going to go through a lot of stuff. Hopefully, they'll end up with time at the end. I've never seen that happen, so that would be a miracle in itself. But they are available 24/7. I kid you not. So if they're going fast, just know it's to get through all the stuff, and they will answer any questions you've got later. Thank you. Sitting down.
Not at my best this morning. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the Murdoch trial and the rough draft that was produced that I can't remember exactly what the attorneys called it, but basically useless. Yeah, deficit product, basically useless. And then they very carefully pointed out it was not produced by a professional stenographer, and it was obviously produced by an ASR translation. And they are basically nothing quality-wise compared to what we can do. So these are the types of things that we need to educate our consumers of our products about. And the murder trial was so high profile, a great example to bring up to them. And that there is a video of the exchange between the judge and the attorneys on our Strong YouTube.
Question, what's ASR?
Automated speech recognition.
Thank you.
Which is a subset of AI. So those are kind of you have the overarching AI and the ASR that falls underneath it.
And we had a question over here.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My question when that occurred, why was the official reporter not providing the rough draft?
We don't know the answer to that. We followed up. We're trying to get in contact with one of the official reporters. The problem is kind of, when people are employed, they have to tread delicately, right? But it's on our long to-do list of things that, I want to talk to the attorney, and I would absolutely love to be able to get.
There's an NCRA webinar with the actual reporter, and he explains why. And I think it's from NCRA that did it.
Oh, good. We can all do
Was
the
it
webinar.
the attorneys not willing to pay the rate? What?
He explains it. I don't want to.
It was a trial type of.
There was two of them. He and another voice writer paired it up, but they also had the FTR in there. And they didn't want to. They didn't want to pay the rates of the real court reporters, so they paid the rates of the FDR.
Oh, that's even better.
See, the judge could have watched that.
And then they wound up wasting their money.
You get what you pay for.
Exactly.
Is there anybody that hasn't seen the video? Just raise your hands.
Oh.
That's quite
Wow.
a few.
Okay.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and play the video. We were not going to play it It's about 2 minutes, and I think we have to play it for you.
Please.
And by the way, the committee also captioned this video, so. Okay, we're not gonna have any sense.
How bad the rough draft was that you received?
We paid $450 for it.
Hold on, we'll start it again.
South Carolina. Court reporters, South Carolina judicial reporters.
Let me make it clear that if I said that, I never implied that our South Carolina court reporters were.
Can you guys hear it? Okay, play it again so they will not hear it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be the out loud captioner, okay?
Thank you.
Here we go.
Speech to text.
Text to speech.
They're defined now.
How bad the rough draft was? I'm sorry, how bad what? How bad the rough draft was that you received? That we paid $450 for? Yes. Okay, wanted the record to be clear that those rough drafts are not provided by the South Carolina court reporters. South Carolina judicial reporters. I just want to make it clear that if I said that, I never implied that our South Carolina court reporters would produce such a deficit product. Yes, it was made clear to me by court administration that it's, what's the name of the company? I'm not going to say it out loud. I don't know either. A private company apparently has not perfected its software. Because we paid $450 for something was, as you saw, a deficit transcript. But again, our South Carolina reporters, it wasn't our South Carolina reporters, it was some northern company. And then laughter. Just
Yeah,
like that.
but, and that video is on our YouTube, so you can check it out if you log on.
Thank you. Share it widely.
Yeah.
Probably a decade of work with Mike, they're excellent.
I think you can move on, Sue.
Yeah.
All right.
So when we come across things that are really good for us, we need your help making these things go viral.
It is on just talk about it.
The table mic is stronger.
All right. Sitting down. We see tons of news stories on the dangers of AI, yet seemingly no one in power seems to be making the connection on how this is being implemented in our court system. Strong continues to work behind the scenes to remedy that, and we ask you to seize every opportunity you can so that we can raise public awareness together. Captioner and Strong member Kim Falgiani was able to garner the attention of a news reporter in the Cleveland, Ohio market, which resulted in a broadcast that aired May 17th on the evening news channels. What's the secret sauce in making this happen? Basically, grassroots advocacy. Talking about these issues with her husband created a chain reaction that put her in contact with the news reporter, and her 2-minute elevator pitch sparked the reporter's interest. Kim immediately asked for the Strong Committee's input, and we were able to prep her for the upcoming interview, and we stand ready to support all of you in the same way. Great news, the press release that NCRA sent out recently continues to attract attention. I feel we're very close to getting the message out, and let's create this tipping point together.
And we do have the interview. It's on our YouTube channel, right? If it's not, I know Colin will get it there for us. So you will be able to see it. It's really good. It's too long to play for us to play here, but that link is there. Oh, also, you should have received a PDF handout. It should be, I know Cynthia has it, you might get it afterwards, Colin might not, and he might not, but you'll have links to just everything that we talk about here today. We have PDFs for you on that. Okay, this one is my slide. I think this is a really exciting development. The American Bar Association, we used to have a link in our slides to, was like a resolution 109 or 102 or something, and they did a slight acknowledgement of AI and be cautious of AI. Well, recently, in the last few months, they had their meeting, and they came out with an extremely strong statements on artificial intelligence. And machine learning is part of artificial intelligence. And they said that there are basically 3 guidelines. Accountability, number 1, human oversight and authority, number 2, and transparency and traceability. The traceability part is something that we want to talk to you a lot about today because it is very important. I'm going to read you, sorry to read, but I'm going to read you just a few of the highlights because their resolution and their instructions to their attorneys are very lengthy. It says, in February 2023 mid-year meeting, the Cybersecurity Legal Task Force has authorized the following policy initiatives. The use of AI and capabilities are to follow certain guidelines. Here's some quotes. It urges that organizations that design, develop, deploy, and use AI systems and capabilities must follow these guidelines. AI raises new legal and ethical questions. Computers and automatic speech recognition are performing functions that historically require human cognition. The task force was working to make a basic principle guide for the development of AI. This is very important, legal responsibility cannot be shifted to AI or an algorithm. It should be placed with responsible individuals and other legal entities. So it's very good. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one last sentence. The ABA needs to have policy set by the legislation and have a seat at the table to ensure these guidelines are instituted in its design and development stages. So I encourage you to just Google AI, this resolution, and read the content. This slide is on the recent, there was a recent an endeavor in Congress, in the Judiciary Committee, to set some policy on AI. And Strong crafted a very informative letter, and it was edited, reviewed by the board. The board provided input, and working together, we were able to craft a great letter. Debbie's going to pass out that letter to you now so that you can review it at your leisure. We won't spend a lot of time on it today. What we will spend a lot of time on today, though, are these, what came out of it. Here are a few good quotes that came out of it. A wrench can be used to assemble a desk or construct an airplane, yet the rules governing those two end products are not primarily based on the wrench. They are based on use. And that's what a lot of people are saying. You know, AI is good, automatic speech recognition is good in certain environments, but we are certainly a high-risk environment for its use. This means establishing rules to govern the deployment of AI in specific use cases, not regulating the technology itself. The technology's out there. We know we're not going to stop the technology. Everyone knows that. But we should be having input, and we should be putting some guidelines out of our own on this. So Congress should formalize disclosure requirements, and that's a key word we're going to talk about today. For certain uses of AI, consumers should know when they are interacting with an AI system and whether they have recourse to engage with a real person should they so desire. No person anywhere should be tricked into interacting with an AI system. AI developers should also be required to disclose technical information about the development and performance of an AI model, as well as the data used to train it, to give society better visibility into how these models operate.
So the Strong Committee, can you hear me? Okay. No. Okay, you can hear me now. So the Strong Committee back in March of 2020, we retained, actually NCRA helped us retain a privacy professional. His name was Joe Lazzarotti. He's the head of the data and privacy and cybersecurity at Jackson Lewis from Berkeley Heights, New Jersey. We got on a Zoom meeting with this man and we learned so much from him about protecting your information, your biometrics, the fact that Sue can walk up to her laptop and put her face in it and it opens up without a pin. I can use my fingerprint on mine, but that is very sensitive information. We discussed a whole lot of things, but not only did we learn from him, we taught him some things, and he updated his blog. He writes a privacy blog, and he updated it based on some information that we were telling him about how artificial intelligence doesn't recognize women's voices as well as it does men's. How people with accents and people from the Caribbean, like my family, would never be able to create a transcript with AI. Jamaican accents don't translate. You know, so there's instances like that. People with speech impediments, that's the word I'm looking for. AI just won't get it. So anyway, we contracted with him, we learned a lot from him, and we keep in touch and follow his blog. Another thing that we're all asking for your help with is there's a lot of issues going on in individual states, and we need to know what's going on in your state. You need to know what's going on in your state. You know, there's legislators trying to write legislation and ban court reporters, stenographers from courtrooms, and that's actually happening. It happened. We were all able to collaboratively quash that bill. However, it was written in the night under an eye care bill or something like that. You would have never known had you not had a good lobbyist in your state, had you not had your ear to the ground, your feet on the ground, and we need to know that information so we can empower you with the information that we have and work together to not get bills like that passed.
Was that the Indiana bill?
It was the Indiana bill. But similar things are going on in California, Nebraska. Listen, if you hear about an issue going on in your state, in your courts, if they're trying to get rid of you, if you walk into a depot in a cert state and you realize that there's a digital recorder there, please let us know. Send us an email. Let somebody at NCRA know, because we keep records of this. We see what's happening and we want to stave it off before it gets out of control. The letter is also what was just passed out to you, something else we're working on, and we really need your help. So please keep in touch, please let us know what's going on, and please keep in touch with your state or representatives as well.
Sue, is this an appropriate time for me to discuss the bill?
Yes, it is.
So I have been given permission to let you all know that Dave Wenhold, our government relations and executive director, has been working with a cyber. But then I just whispered. So Dave Wenhold, our executive director and government relations team, has been working with a cybersecurity expert to prepare a bill to take to Congress to discuss the securities that we need with AI. It's very preliminary. We're getting very close to a final rough draft. So we've got some way to go, but we just want you all to know that that is actively being working on, and we're hoping that NCRA will be able to take a bill to the Hill really quickly to help us with some of our concerns. Thank you, Sue.
And I will say that Something Strong has been working very hard to get through to the importance of it. Okay, this is, I want to talk to you a little bit, I do a lot of the elevator speeches. And one of the things that I get asked all the time, well, why is it any different using speech recognition in legal? They use it in medical. Has anybody ever thought that yourself? Anybody? Raise your hand if you've ever thought, well, you know, they use it in medical. Okay, so you understand maybe why we don't. But let's talk about it a little bit. Voice recognition and speech recognition are two entirely separate things. Voice recognition is taught to recognize one person's voice. It's trained usually on a specific model, like an orthopedic surgeon has a speech recognition engine that has that sort of terminology in it, and a baby doctor might have that terminology. And so it's built for a different purpose, and it's limited. You have to also remember that because it's trained at that voice, it recognizes that voice very, very well. but very accurately, it still makes tons of mistakes, and we can give you lots of examples of that. But what is different in our environment is it isn't trained to anyone's voice. It's trained to everyone's voice. And it's also, in the medical use, it's not trained in what we call ambient environments. In other words, a lot of noise around, cars, honking their horns and sirens and all that sort of thing. So there's a huge difference between speech recognition as it's used in medical and voice recognition as it's used in ours. AR, is it even legal in court?
That's me.
What happens when machine learning, oh, I'm sorry, that's Mary.
Okay.
It is, sorry.
She's my mini-me. When I grow up, I want to be satiric. So we all need to be aware so that we can educate the consumers of our products. What does happen when machine learning enters the justice system and the courtroom? And is it reliable? I think you know how we stand on that. Because court records are a very high-risk environment. People's livelihoods, their personhood, their very freedom, these are all things that are at stake. Pardon me? Oh.
You gotta hold the microphone.
Oh.
Yeah, real close.
Okay. We'll disinfect it afterwards. Okay, so, but it's a very high-risk environment. We need to make sure that the consumers of our products are aware of the risks to all these different parts of our lives and livelihoods. And that there just aren't the standards in place yet. We're not sure there ever will be, that this is as reliable as someone with our training and professional standards. And so it doesn't just affect the privacy, like I said, it's got some discriminations within the algorithms for women, people with speech impediments, minorities, accents, and we even understand that as people get older, their voice changes, and again, it compromised the ability for an accurate transcription of what they're saying. And think about it, these are the most vulnerable people in our society. So are we going to abuse them yet again? We're all going to be confronted, and the consumers of our products will be confronted with very aggressive technology to accept that the promises they're making about their product are true. When I think from the Murdoch trial and so many other things, we can show that they are not living up to the promises that they make, and certainly not at this point. And if you're going to use the automatic speech recognition with a human review on a regular old QWERTY keyboard, that's not advancement. We can do a lot better than that already with our products. And we need to make them aware that these things are not living up to shown the Murdoch video. And but we all need to know these things so that we can educate the attorneys, paralegals, and everybody else about the shortcomings of these products.
ASR, is it emerging technology or emerging chaos? I think it's a little bit of both. It's emerging technology in some fields that are not the high-risk environment that we talked about. And in our field, I think it is emerging chaos. There's something in automatic speech recognition called catastrophic forgetting. This is widely researched, and you can find information on it. And what it is basically, as this engine builds and gets new information, it can forget old information or just drop it entirely. So think about when a human reviewer is reviewing something, they weren't there. So how would they know if this catastrophic forgetting has happened? They really would not. Personal information used to build the engine can be vulnerable to hackers. We've all seen that through the ChatGPT recent lawsuits. I watched a YouTube where it took less than 30 seconds. An automatic speech recognition engine had trained on just internet scraped data, and they showed how a cyber criminal could hack into that And if they had only 4 digits of my social security number, because of the way the engines are trained, some engines, within 30 seconds, they can reveal my entire social security number. So, and it can be targeted with adversarial attacks that can cause it to output the wrong text. That's pretty big right there. If you're talking about somebody's fortunes in a civil case or their freedom and liberties in a criminal case, to think that it could be targeted to output wrong text, that's pretty significant. So how is anybody ever going to verify whether it was correct or not correct? We're that element. Okay, this is going to be a little bit longer slide. They're patting me on the back here because they know I tend to get long-winded on this slide, but it's so very important, this slide is. I'm going to go to the next slide. I just wanted to show you that. Let me go back for just 1 second. These are kind of all the things that people that develop it, use it, deploy it, and especially people like us that have to learn it when we really were never trained to learn it. We kind of have to start learning what these terms mean in our industry, particularly in light of the fact that consumers have some rights. A lot of states, we are going to have to deal with some of those things, so we need to be learning about these things. With great power comes great risk, and these things do have great power. Explainability. What does explainability mean? If you do much research into ASR, explainability is, how is your engine built? Because how that engine was built determines how accurate it is. It affects the accuracy. If it was, you can build an automatic speech recognition strictly from text, and you don't need any audio to build a speech recognition engine, but they're less accurate. So we would want to know that if we're using any of those products, or if we're just doing an elevator speech, we need to know what these terms mean. So not a lot of these companies yet want to come out and explain how they built their engine, because I think in a lot of cases they build it using all of our, and I'm not talking about just in this room, or I'm talking other fields, they build them using a lot of our data, and it's just now coming out that they didn't really have the rights to use those things. So that's explainability. Company doesn't want to explain how they built their engine, that's probably a red flag for us. Traceability and accountability. These two I had coming up together for a reason. So accountability is a huge thing in court reporting, right? We're accountable for those records. And we can go back 10 years from now, and depending on what the laws are in your state of holding records, we can go back and we can explain, we can be accountable. We have our steno notes embedded in our file, which is sort of a watermark of this file's integrity. It's sort of a 2-factor thing. Really, I think we talked to Joe, and we have 4-factor, because you can't get into our data unless you have our tax system license. So we're really secure. Traceability is the one thing that I think in this whole seminar, I want you to go away thinking about this in your elevator speech. Traceability. The Strong Committee was fortunate enough for NCRA to trust us enough with some funds, and in our initial formation, we hired a forensic audio expert, and he goes to court and testifies all the time on whether audio has been manipulated, whether audio has been altered, whether it's authentic. We learned a lot from him. One of the things we learned is it is important to be able to trace evidence that's introduced into court. And so let me give you a scenario. Somebody goes to prison, or somebody's fortune is at risk, and 2 years from now, there's an appeal filed. And we need to know, somebody said that transcript isn't accurate. Well, in today, right now, there's zero accountability for lawyers, and I don't think they really know there's no accountability. Transcripts are being generated by digitals using automatic speech recognition as the first pass. And who knows that? No one. That attorney really doesn't know. So let's say a couple years from now, it becomes an issue. In order to really have a forensic answer to that, you would need to know, when was it transcribed? We know that a lot of companies, these transcription companies, are touting, oh, we do daily copy because we use 15 transcriptionists to produce, highly trained transcriptionists to train. Well, guess what? Which one of those transcriptionists will be available to testify to that record? If that, a lot of transcription companies do not allow you to know the name of the transcriptionist. So you're not gonna have the company come in, right? You don't even have the availability of knowing what engine was used to transcribe that, because guess what? They're all different levels of accuracy. You would need to know the date the engine was used. You would need to know the transcriptionist. You would need to know the accuracy level. When was it last calibrated? You would need to know all of those things. And we don't even have disclosure right now. I'm glad we're gonna work on it. We don't even have disclosure. So attorneys don't even realize that maybe their own ethics are at risk. Privacy, I think we've talked about privacy with a lot of our meetings. We do hold a lot of private information. Joe Lazzarotti taught us one thing: we have to use reasonable standards. And you know, we've got some webinars, I think, in the Learning Center, right, Colin, that will walk you through that. And it is our responsibility. It's not the agency you work for. I mean, yes, they bear some responsibility too, and should be training you, but you need to use best practices. And security, to me, goes right along with that, so we'll pass that one. This is a really important point that we want to make. Biased listening and transcription. We recently found within the last month or two that Microsoft actually came out with a study, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like going to use ASR for transcription, read this first, or something like that. I don't remember the title. But what I do remember is that their study, they used two groups of transcriptionists. And what they found is that transcriptionists have something called listening bias and transcription bias. Listening bias is that, okay, I'm fixing this, I'm the human fixing this, and as I'm fixing this, I'm listening to it, and after 10 minutes, I just assume that what the ASR did is correct. It's a transcription and a listening bias. Their recommendation in their own study is that if you are going to use this, you should have two human reviewers to have better accuracy. Still doesn't mean it's going to be totally accurate, but think what that does to a pricing model. If agencies are truly using this in the right way, you got two human transcribers, is that going to be less than one court reporter that can do it all? So that should be your part of your elevator speech. Data integrity, I'm going to skip over some of these because I know we're getting behind on this slide. Reliability, you have to know who built the engine, how it was built, in order to know whether it's reliable. Some can put out the information and expose it more than others. What standards did the engine have? You need to know the accuracy rates. These are people's lives and fortunes. And terms of, let me go back 1 second. Terms of service are very important. The days of us just clicking OK when we want to install some software, those are gone. You better read those license agreements, and particularly in our industry, because I've seen some of the terms of service, and you know what is happening? Everything's falling in your lap when you click OK to use these products. And maybe you're okay with it, and if you are, that's fine. but you should look, because companies that produce this kind of software, they make sure that they're not gonna be left holding the bag. They may leave you holding the bag.
All right, that's me. So many of these platforms where AI is being deployed, the users are the guinea pigs. It's being deployed very fast, without testing and without accountability. There are some existing state laws that may govern. Illinois, I know, is one of the ones that is at the forefront of this. But many states are working to implement some. Some AI industry leaders have called for a slowdown. I can't help but think that sounds like a country song when I say that. And the ABA resolution warns attorneys about the use of AI. We believe that ASR to create our court records is a high-risk use case, and that our court records demand accurate text, not predictive text, overseen by itinerant workers, gig workers, or those looking for a side hustle.
I'm gonna go through this slide quickly because we touched on it a little bit, but this is just a reminder of what you would need in order to verify a transcript's accuracy that was generated with ASR assistance. You'd need the engine utilized. You'd need a date of processing through the engine. I don't think I mentioned that, because these engines change with input daily. So how would a forensic expert ever be able to determine that without knowing what the engine was on a particular date? Accuracy percentage on date processed, and last calibration or accuracy testing of that engine. Chain of custody and names of all transcribers handling the file. Authority to certify transcripts. We know deepfake certificates abound. You know, we've all seen these certificates that have, you know, like 3 certificates on it, you know, an agency, a notary, and a transcriptionist. Where does the authority come from? Yeah, where does the authority come from to create those certifications? And we must remember that ASR provides predictive answers, not always definitive or even accurate answers. Who's this? You? It is? Okay. All right. I hate to just read you slides. I'm gonna let you look at that slide for a minute as I talk about it. Biometrics, we all know that banks, life insurance companies are starting to use biometrics in accessing your bank accounts, accessing your life insurance modifications you might want to make. So it is important what is happening with voices. Yes, does anybody, let me explain what biometrics are. Biometrics are your handprint, your fingerprint, your voice, your iris, anything that can identify you. Oh, and your voice, you know, even the tone of your voice. Your face, we've all experienced facial recognition when we, you know, allow our computers to just open up when it sees our face. That's all biometric information. Mary just came back from France, yay for Mary, and she was telling us how, you know, she had to do a facial scan in Amsterdam to get through the airport. So,
and what's the PII or PLL?
Personal identifying information. So that's going to be like your date of birth, social security number, address, maiden name, that type of information. This stuff that's usually covered in the first, the stuff that's usually covered in the first 5, 6, 7 pages, you know, of a deposition.
And this information, think about this and why it's important that you start to really think about security of your files. This information all usually appears within the first few minutes of a legal proceeding. Stenographers' transcripts use no biometric information for filing or long-term storage and have the embedded steno, as we talked about, as a watermark. It's like having your personal handwriting on a file. Courts are known to experience data breaches that could release biometric information through digital audio files. I know of 2 courts in the last 2 weeks that have been hacked. courts and admins should be held accountable by the public to secure the biometric data contained in an audio-video proceeding.
Okay, so, okay, can you hear me this time? No. All right, no? Okay, there we go. We must use the reasonable safeguards, and how do you know what's reasonable? Well, if you don't even know what you're looking for, like so many attorneys and paralegals, they don't understand that these things are even going on. We had a convention in California a couple of months ago. We had one of Johnny Depp's attorneys. Sue Terry was there, and she asked, would you like to know if you had a digital recorder for a deposition that your files, your recordings are going overseas? And she looked like a deer in the headlights. What are you talking about? So they don't even know what standards to have because they don't know this is going on. That's why we need all of you to be foot soldiers and educate them about the different methods that are being used to create transcripts other than licensed professional court reporters. Because then they can start to think about what safeguards, guarding that information, asking if it's going overseas, how many different hands is it passing through. When you've got a stenographer, we are the chain of custody from start to finish. From the start of making that transcript to the finish of certifying it. In the case of a digital transcript, it can pass through 5 to even 10 hands. And that biometric information, the recording, all those things go all the way down that trail.
And I want to add one little thing on Mary's when she talked about, we did a seminar for San Francisco legal professionals recently. Mary's going to do another one very soon for the whole state. And it was very interesting to us because they said that they reached out to us because they're getting inquiries from their paralegals saying, hey, our risk managers of our law firms want to know every place that every place that that artificial intelligence is being used in our practice. And so they reached out to us because they heard that it might be being used in practices. And so we did a whole seminar surrounding that, and it was very eye-opening to them, and they came and asked us to do it for the whole state. Okay.
All right. So a lot of these things are going to erode the public trust in our court records. But, you know, is there a cost savings? If y'all seen one, I haven't. What I'm seeing is, you know, just more realized profit for those in power. Recording transcription is already at least 1/4 as efficient. And while complaints about low wages are prevalent for digital transcribers, there just simply isn't a cost savings to consumers, at least in the freelance market. We've got a Pierce County study that'll demonstrate that in the court setting, there is not a cost savings. And if we have any captioners here, while there may be some cost savings for programmers, the resulting quality is pretty low. In our court system, the real cost to our citizens isn't in terms of dollars. It's measured in inaudible testimony or all-out failures, and that result in mistrials or extended incarceration.
Mary, yeah, we only have 15 minutes. We're going to skip over a couple of slides. There's one particular slide I absolutely want to show you. But you can, I'll tell you what, why don't I do this? I'm going to go back. Why don't you take a picture of that slide? And you can read the slide later. And if you want to see any of us, we'll be here all day. And you can reach.
I'm recording it, and I'll put the slides on YouTube with the audio.
Okay.
For people.
And I'll just say, I don't know all the different states people are from, but in California, you should not and better not be certifying an ASR record unless you've got stenographic notes. Let's not help them beat us.
Okay.
I never
Did you not get it?
I'm sorry, I have a question on this. I have never heard of companies asking reporters for certifications for ASA?
Absolutely
I
not.
certainly hope it's not widespread, but I have come into possession of a couple transcripts that were clearly digital and were signed off by an RPR.
Yeah, and
It was unfortunately names was redacted, so I couldn't do anything about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna let you take a picture of this slide for your elevator speech. Everybody got it?
Yes.
Go ahead and take a picture of that quickly.
All right. While you guys are capturing your photographs, we're going to open up the floor for questions.
Sorry.
Yes, bear with me. I'm Vanna White today.
So there's a story out of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania of a U.S. District Court Judge, Michael Daleson, who issued an order requiring attorneys to use artificial intelligence to prepare any complaint, answer motion brief, or other paper filed in court to disclose that AI, if AI was used. And I wonder if that's an approach that we could take. If they're going to go down this road, if they have some kind of certification where the attorneys have to go back and tell the court all the different methods of AI that were used.
Well, I know that we are campaigning that disclosure be made.
Yeah.
You know, we see the, certain companies going out and telling people, hey, modify your notices so that you can be, inclusive of digital. We want to tailor that and say, make it a disclosure, and here's some suggestive language. I'd honestly like to be part in crafting suggestive language, because I don't think theirs is going to be quite as eye-opening as mine would be. Anybody else? Yes.
Well,
Bear with me. I'm closer to you.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't make this more widespread information, and not just to the judicial branch, but to people in general. And I don't mean to be political, but perhaps we should talk to people like unions, American workers, and let them know that if they go to the judicial system, that AI, their product that they're getting has been sent overseas. And I can tell you, our American forces, our workforces, are just the people in general will not be happy knowing that their information is being sent overseas. I agree. Anywhere, and I'm not trying to be prejudiced about those workers, but we have to protect our own jobs here. And also one more point, I did send to Debbie Dibble an article by Forbes that just came out comparing AI transcripts and stenographic records. And it's a very detailed report, and it basically came up with the fact that stenographic transcription is much more accurate, and AI fails in accuracy. The only point that they have going for them is expense. And I don't think we can sacrifice,
You get what you pay for.
Yes.
Get what you pay
Well,
for.
and I'm gonna show you.
And I agree with their outreach. Hopefully after today, we have 100 more people walking out there and helping it. One girl from Kentucky screaming at the wind, and, our Florida people, we need your help. Those contacts. Kim, fussing with her husband, that got turned into a media interview. I have to say that a lot of work went behind that. I mean, we prepped Kim for days. She's great. Y'all know Kim, she is confident. So nervous, but, literally, I put in, on my side, literally 14 hours of driving the day of and the day back. And I was on camera for like 15 seconds. So a lot of work went behind the scenes that you don't see.
I'm just wondering if this PowerPoint is going to be available to us to reference. Like, will you put this on the strong side?
Colin is saying yes.
And I'm recording the session too.
And he's also recording the session. You're welcome.
I didn't know about the Forbes magazine. Be great if you could put a link to that.
Yeah, we could put that in our
We'll put it
But-
in the resource library. Go ahead.
Okay, the reason I wanted to speak up is a lot of people don't even realize that they're using AI.
That's right.
Or biometrics, I should say. But in New York at least, if you take an online defensive driving course to save 10% of your insurance, and some other states have it too, they also use biometrics, but you're not realizing it. They ask you to repeat, either type something every couple, like 15 minutes to type to make sure you're the person taking it, or if you're doing it by phone, to call in and speak a certain phrase. So you may not even realize it's biometrics, but they're still doing it with your typing style, how fast you type, the combinations, and with your voice.
And along with that, it's a very good point, thank you. Along with that, with your voice, just your voice, all sorts of medical information about you can be discerned. They can discern whether you have, whether you're elderly by your voice. They can discern whether or not you have COPD, whether or not you're a smoker. You sign something saying, no, I don't smoke because you want a lower insurance rate. They get your voice. Guess what? Your family 10 years from now, they could say, said they didn't smoke, and here we have proof. So all those things, there's a lot they can determine simply from your voice. So these things are important, and this is all a new field for us. I want to show you the best thing I think that you can have for your elevator speech. And I think you'll find this, I insisted on saving enough time to show you this. This is a site, Strong has always wanted to have access to court analytics. It's very expensive to find a site. There are a lot of them out there, but ironically, most of them are owned by AI companies. So we don't want to put our information in there. But there's this little free site that we came across simply because the California Bar Association had a data breach, and all the bar disciplinary records were breached by this it wasn't this company that breached, or this website that breached it, but it was through a portal on that website. So they offer free analytics. So I want to show you this. Oh gosh, I gotta log on to the internet real quick. Sorry.
Is there another question in the meantime?
Yeah, do a question in the meantime.
I'm Cindy, I'm from California, and I just wanted to let everyone know in this room that the argument our court is making in Los Angeles is that it's a constitutional crisis, the shortage of reporters, and that's why they're going to be able to enact legislation or emergency orders or whatever means they choose to use this type of software.
We have constitutional arguments that can counter that. I know we have one of the clips that's on the NCRA resources page is a judge talking about the constitutional issue, and he's quite passionate about it. So go up there, if you can't find it, reach out to us. We'll make sure you have that link at the ready.
I'm Grace, and I'm here in Texas, and this hasn't happened to me, but some other reporters have been discussing on our network about attorneys coming onto a Zoom deposition and trying to use some speech recognition software. And one of my questions is, and what's been discussed, is do we have the right to tell the attorneys they cannot do that?
I don't know if you have the right to do that. We tried to address this with COPE, and we were told that it wasn't within their purview, or they didn't have the relevant knowledge. I don't know where that's going to stand.
I actually am going to readdress that with some new information that we may be able to get something. It may not be anything more than an opinion or a best practice, but there is some other information. Those things also are known to, I have a long discussion in a confidential matter. Some of those systems are known to send the transcript out after the meeting to every attendee that was in a meeting. And that could be very bad for attorneys. And if an attorney, and I don't think attorneys are doing this nefariously or trying to hide it, they're just using the technology that's out there. So I would say, hey, if anybody's, I just want to let you know if anybody's using any of the popular note-taking apps, it can send this transcript out to all participants. in a meeting, and there's no way to cut it off during the confidential discussions that might be occurring. So I think that, you know, we have some responsibility to educate. Okay, this is a slide I want to show you. And I'm gonna, when I put this search in, I'm going to encourage you to take a picture of the exact way I type this search in. So this is a little bit of Boolean code searching. I'm gonna do inaudible. Oops.
Sorry, guys.
Or the capital letters mean something and should be exactly as I have them here. And basically what that's doing is saying, I want to search, I'm not done with the search yet, so hold off on your picture. Not patent. Now that might look like an odd search, but this database includes lots of patents, references to inaudible or indiscernible. We don't want any of those. So basically this search will give you every record that has either inaudible or indiscernible, and we've just excluded the patent. And so I'm going to go over here and show you the results. If you need to show someone, an attorney or a judge, how these systems are there are, let's go to the last page. These are all pages after pages after pages. I had someone point out, well, some of these are old. Yay, I want the old ones, because I want to be able to show court administrators and legislators that you've known for years these didn't work. You know, we got this off free analytics. You should be doing your own to show this stuff doesn't work and how bad it is. You'll be shocked if you actually go through a lot of the pages that, okay, I'm going to the last one here, and you'll see 200. There are 200 sites. So we know that it's not working. Some of these are very sad cases as you read through them. So I encourage you to take a look at that. This slide is very quick. I think we're almost to the end.
We do have more questions.
Okay. This slide is basically kind of a cute slide. You don't understand something until you can explain it to your grandmothers, what Albert Einstein said. And do whatever is necessary to practice your elevator speech on ASR and digital. Canines make a good listener to practice. Two undergrads found that dogs reacted differently, just like people. Amiable but unpredictable. So a group started practicing giving their speeches to canines and had a marked improvement in their delivery and experienced less anxiety when speaking. So there really was a point to that slide.
So I'll just be really quick because I know we're at the end, but read every deposition notice that you get and take the opportunity at every deposition to talk to your the client and the other side, because I've had every deposition, I always make sure, especially when the deposition notice says, or other person or other officer authorized to swear in the witness, because that leaves them open for digital.
Colin has asked everybody to remain